Happy Sabbath. Today is March 18, 2017. March 18, 2017. We still continue on the time of the end. Basically going through Daniel 11 slowly. So verse by verse. All right. I think we ended up last week at Daniel 11 verse 16, which we can line up basically with the Sunday law. All right. Daniel 11, 16. But remember we were, okay, let me get back to where we were. And then, oh, sorry, it's not it. Okay, here we go. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand before him, and he shall stand in the glorious land, which by his hand shall be consumed. So who was he that cometh? This was actually talking about in the history. When you read this just as a history, this was Pompey, the Roman general that came, and nobody could go up against him. And he did according to his will. And none shall stand before him. And what did he do? He conquered Syria first. That was his first obstacle, right? And then after that, where did he go? He went to the glorious land and he captured Jerusalem, which by his hand is his power to persecute, you know? His power to persecute, he consumed, and he desecrated the temple by entering the temple, right? Okay. Now when we look at this, we see that this is essentially a parallel verse of Daniel 11:41. Daniel 11:41 is talking about the glorious land. It's talking about the hand, you know, the glorious land and the hand right here. And he shall enter also into the glorious land. Now who is this he that will enter the glorious land? It is now the papacy. Now, but this time, the glorious land is America, right? The America that was set aside as the glorious land to bring in the pilgrims who had to flee from the persecution, you know, in the old country, in Europe, right? They were persecuted. So now, the papacy will enter back into United States. And remember, look at this, countries. Countries is, when it's in brackets, it means it's, or italicized, it's supplied. So you can even read it without saying countries. And he shall enter into America, and many shall be overthrown, right? Even God's people will be overthrown at that time. And these shall escape out of his hand. But there's going to be people that are going to escape out of his hand. Remember, his hand is his military power, his hand to persecute. There's going to be people who are going to even escape. Edom, Moab, and Ammon. These are the Gentiles who's going to come in and escape and join with the Sabbath keepers, right? And we know this happens when? At the Sunday law, right? The glorious land is America. Here, the glorious land is Israel. He that enters is the papacy, the king of the north. He that enters is Pompey. Here, Pompey is not yet the king of the north, because how many entities does he have to conquer to become the king of the north? 3, right? He first conquered Syria, and then he conquered Israel. Then he'll have to conquer, and then he'll have to conquer Egypt. Okay. So we got this part, we got verse 11, 12, 13, and verse 11 is the battle of Raphia, right? Where the king of the south defeats the king of the north. And we realize that is Russia. Russia was going to defeat America in a war here at midnight. All right, but But those who fought for Russia, being that it's going to be a proxy war, because there's the soldiers of Islam is going to fight for them, and they're going to win the war for them. They're going to join together and make their own coalition. All right? Okay. And then in verse 14 also. And then the papacy is going to come in. It's being introduced right here in verse 14. Right? It's being introduced because America, who had just lost a war, the papacy says, well, we can't have that. You know, how am I going to set up a Sunday law without America? America just lost a war. So the papacy is going to have to come in. And we know from this history is that it will have to prop up America economically. So that now the papacy, having propped up America, America can go to another war and take revenge against the king of the south. And this time the king of the north, which is America, which is the army of Rome, now wins. And that's at the Battle of Panium. The Sixth Syrian War is when now Russia is down, but now America wants to go against there's going to be a new manifestation of power. A new manifestation of power that's coming up when America is going down is the United Nations. America wants to be the ruler of the United. We want to still be the supreme world power, but the papacy says no. You know, that is going to draw a line in the sand. No, the United Nations. We're going to ally with the United Nations. The papacy is going to ally with the United Nations, because now the United States has filled its role in defeating Russia, the king of the south. Because the second secret of Fatima is that the world will never be at peace until Russia is converted. So now that America has helped defeat Russia here, now America's role is no longer. Now the papacy is going to ride another beast now, another dragon now, going to ride the United Nations. And we see there's going to be a Judeo-Roman alliance. All right? Israel and Rome is making an alliance in 161 BC. Now we'll have to see where that fits, okay? But we know that verse 16 is the Sunday law. And that's the Sunday law. It's typified by Pompey coming in. Pompey coming in and going and conquering the glorious land. Okay, that's where we kind of ended up, and then we had multiple summaries, right? We had multiple summaries. So now we'll go to 109. Daniel 11 verse 17. Now we're talking about the king of the north here. The king of the north. Now this is a little bit of a repetition because we did this when we're trying to identify the four kings, right? The four U.S. presidents. All right. Now verse 17 says, he shall also set his face to enter the strength of his whole kingdom. Now he's going to get the whole strength of his kingdom, meaning he's going to have to conquer his third obstacle. He's already conquered two obstacles. He's going to enter conquer his third obstacle, which will now complete the three obstacles that he needs to conquer to become the king of the north. Right? He shall enter into the strength of his whole kingdom, and the upright one with him. Thus shall he do. And he shall give him the daughter of woman. Who's the daughter of woman here? That's Cleopatra. Corrupting her. Oh, wait a minute. I thought Cleopatra seduced him. But how is it that he corrupted her? But she shall not stand on his side, neither be of him. How? So Julius Caesar, now this is now Julius Caesar. What happened to Pompey? Well, they were both generals. They were both generals in the Roman army. And those generals had so much power that now they started fighting each other. So Pompey was fighting against Julius Caesar. The thing is, Julius Caesar was stronger than Pompey. So Pompey had to run, and he ran down to Egypt. But the problem is that as soon as he got to Egypt, he was captured and he was beheaded. So he was killed in Egypt, right? So Julius Caesar, not knowing that, Julius Caesar went down to Egypt and says, oh, Pompey is already killed. In the meantime, he did not have enough armies to go back to Rome, so he got stuck there. So he was stuck there while there was a controversy between the powers in Egypt, being Cleopatra and Cleopatra's 12-year-old brother, Ptolemy the 13th. Now Cleopatra is Cleopatra the 7th. So Cleopatra and the brother were both wanting to become the ruler of Egypt. So what happened is, Julius Caesar, he came into that controversy, he was compelled, right? He was compelled to become the arbitrator of that. So who did he eventually decide to defend? Well, the one that seduced him. He decided to go with Cleopatra. And then there was they went into a war. So Cleopatra went into war with her own brother. So the two armies went to war. In the meantime, Julius Caesar was there by himself, and he did not have reinforcement, right? He didn't have reinforcement. Okay. Caesar at length decreed that the brother and sister should occupy the throne jointly. Now this is from Uriah Smith, Daniel, and Revelation. Now he says, okay, you brother and sister, what you can rule jointly. The issue is that when you rule jointly, what do you have to be? You have to be married. So here the brother has to marry the sister for them to be able to rule together. So what kind of marriage is that? Yeah. And he actually, right? So he approved of an unlawful marriage. No, this is, we're talking already about fornication, obviously, right? Yeah. So this is, you can take this prophetically, because the papacy is going to approve of an unlawful alliance between a church and a state, right? Okay. Anyway, a decisive battle was fought near the Nile, resulting in a complete victory for Caesar. Ptolemy, the brother, the 12-year-old brother, he's probably 15 by then, attempted to escape, was drowned in the river. Alexandria and all Egypt was submitted to the victor. Rome was now entered into and absorbed the whole of the original kingdom of Alexander. Now the whole original kingdom of Alexander, of the Greeks, is now controlled by Rome, by Julius Caesar now. So now he becomes the king of the north, right? By the upright ones, the texts are doubtlessly meant the Jews, right? Because what happened when Julius Caesar, he felt he was there by himself and nobody to really help him, he called for reinforcement from the rest of the Roman Empire. And how do you get from Europe down to Egypt if you're going to walk with an army? Where do you have to pass through? Egypt, this is Europe, Lebanon, and what's the country right there? It's Israel. So whose permission does he need to have? The Jews. The Jews have to give him permission and help the reinforcement to come in. So here, the upright ones are the Jews. The Jews make a Judeo-Roman alliance, right? Okay, Judeo-Roman alliances will always end bad. Right? It always ends bad, right?
Any alliance we draw.
Yeah. See, without this alliance, he must have failed. With it, he completely subdued Egypt in 47 BC, right? So now he's the king of the north, with the help of the Jews. The daughter of women corrupting her was Cleopatra, who had been Caesar's mistress and the mother of his son. His infatuation for the queen kept him much longer in Egypt than his affairs required. He spent whole nights in feasting and carousing with the desolate queen. But, said the prophet, she shall not stand on his side, neither be for him. Right. He went with Mark Antony. You guys remember the story, right? It's made into Hollywood movies and all kinds of things. Becomes very famous. Cleopatra abandoned Julius Caesar. She was about 21 years old. He was 51 years old. No, with Julius Caesar. Yeah. Right. Right, yeah. All right, so then he sided with Mark Antony. Okay. All right.
Anthony is from the north as well.
Yeah, but now he was a general also, but then he went down to the south and became the king of the south because he ruled with Cleopatra. So he became the king of the south. Now, what does it mean for us now? How would you interpret this for us now? Who is Cleopatra? Is a woman, all right? Yeah, okay. Who's going to be corrupted by the king of the north? Right, which church you're talking about now? The apostate Protestant church. Because they're going to give themselves to the king, to the papacy. Right? This is where we see now, and this is present truth now. This verse is actually not just history. This is talking what's going to happen. The apostate Protestantism is going to give themselves, and it's going to be corrupted by the papacy. All right. After this, shall he turn his face into the isles. After this, he's going to go to the world. So he went here to Egypt, and then after that, he went and conquered the rest of the Roman Empire. Multiple places into the isles, and shall take many. After he corrupted apostate Protestantism, he's going to go and conquer the United Nations, right? Right, he's going to conquer the United Nations, right? But a prince of his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach, he shall cause it to turn upon him. Oh boy, what is this talking about? Okay, we got to read it carefully. But a prince of his own behalf. So somebody, a general is going to go, from his own general. Shall cause the reproach offered by him. So he's going to offer a reproach. What does reproach mean? Disgrace or shame. All right? He's going to do something shameful, and then that something shameful this general wants to stop. All right? And then now this general is without his own reproach, he's going to cause it to turn upon him. So he's going to turn upon Julius Caesar.
Yes.
Right? So there's going to be something shameful that he does. What is it that he does? Something shameful that he does. All right, we'll see. This is actually what happens is he decides to go back to Rome, and he declares himself the emperor of the world. And he actually becomes the emperor for life. He wants to become emperor for life, and he wants to rule the whole world. Right? So the king of the north wants to become the king, wants to be the emperor of the world. So this is already also typified by the papacy in the 6th century. The 6th century, this papacy had become firmly established. Right? Remember, we were doing 538 until 1798, 1260 years. It's talking about the 6th century. This is 538. The seat of its power was fixed in imperial city. and the Bishop of Rome was declared the head of the entire church. When was the bishop? When was the John Paul II entitled the Universal Bishop or the Corrector of Heretics? What year? 533, right? Paganism had given place to the papacy. Oh, there you go. See, Ellen White said that paganism was taken away so the papacy can rise. Right there, Ellen White. You don't read it very carefully, but when you read it now, you understand what Ellen White is talking about. See? Ellen White is saying paganism had been taken away so that the papacy can now rise. Right? Right there. The dragon had given to the beast his power and his seat and great authority. And now began the 1260 years of papal oppression. So when does that happen? 538. Okay. All right. But does the... Okay, we'll see what the real relationship is. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are the 10 kings. Not the United Nations, right? Now that's paganism, which has received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now this is talking about when the United Nations will join with the papacy after the Sunday law. After Sunday law, America has gone down, now United Nations goes up, and the United Nations is going to join with the papacy for how long did it say? 1 hour. 1 hour is actually means a short time. It's only for a very short time. And these have one mind, and they shall give their power. Now these 10 horns, which is the United Nations, they have one mind. And they shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So they're going to give their military power to the papacy. But what really is their relationship? And the 10 horns which sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. In actuality, they hate each other. Right? So the papacy and and the United Nations actually hate each other. And shall make her desolate and naked, right? And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Wow. Actually, she will cause the destruction of Rome. And when is it that Rome will eventually fall? We'll see that at the 7th plague. When they actually join together, where? Armageddon, right? The beast, the false prophet. Okay, we'll go there. The beast. We'll go there. But anyway, returning to Rome, his fort of his own land, he was made a perpetual dictator. Right? Every time the papacy returns to his seat of power, when he receives his seat of power, then he becomes strong. Because when he's taken away out of his fortress, just like Berthier did. Remember Berthier came and all the way into his fortress and took him out and gave him the deadly wound. He was taken out of his fort of own strength. So when he comes back into this fort of own strength, now he's powerful, right? And he became a perpetual dictator, right? And honors were granted him as rendered him, in fact, absolute sovereign of the whole empire. But the prophet said that he should stumble and fall. And so this man who had fought so he was so powerful, but his generals didn't like it. So the United Nations does not like it when now the papacy is the head, right? There's going to be a threefold union, but who's going to be at the head? The papacy. But United Nations doesn't like it because the actuality they hate her, right? And what's going to happen? Their generals are going to kill him at the Ides of March, right? So Julius Caesar was murdered right there, right, by his generals, right? Remember, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. Stand afar off of the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, woe, woe, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour, see that 1 hour, is thy judgment come. So what? They rule together for 1 hour, but after that, the United Nations will let her burn and let her sink into the Euphrates. They'll sink into the into the water. So then he shall turn his face towards his own fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. So he's going to come into his fort of his own land. He's going to be powerful. He's going to be on top of the union, but he's going to fall. This is Julius Caesar, right? This is talking about Julius Caesar, because he came into the fort of his own land. He went back to Rome and he was declared perpetual dictator. So now he's on top of everybody now, right? But he shall stumble and fall. See that? He stumbled and he fell. And instead there was a triumphant, his 3 generals became a triumvirate. It's Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus. All right. Okay. Now, this is where we're going to go into a little diversion here. A little bit of a tangent, because we're going to do a triumvirate. All right? A 3-power triangle, right? This is a triangle, a threefold union. Now, where are we going to see a threefold union? We see it at the Battle of Armageddon. It's in Revelation 16, verse 13 and 19. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the whose? The dragon. The dragon is who? Satan. It's primarily Satan. But secondarily, who is it? According to Ezekiel 29. It's Egypt. And Egypt symbolizes the world. The world is also symbolized in the end by the United Nations. Right? But primarily, it's Satan. But it's in secondary sense, in prophecy, it's Egypt. And Egypt is the world. All right? So that's the dragon. And out of the mouth of the beast. Who's the beast? It's Babylon. But who controls the ideology of Babylon eventually? Is the papacy. All right? And out of the mouth of the false prophet. Who's the false prophet? Well, in the Bible, we can see who's the false prophet is Balaam, right? Balaam used to be a good prophet, and then he apostatized and became a false prophet, right? Okay. And who also used to speak like a lamb and then spake like a dragon. Used to be good, but became a false prophet. America. I put the false prophet here. But who is this? The false prophet of Baal. Right? Right? Remember they were cutting themselves? And what do the false prophet always do? They dance in front of the kings to deceive the dragon. Right? The false prophet. They dance in front of Ahab. Salome danced in front of Herod, right? The false prophet. So I put this as the false prophet. The dancing false prophet. Okay? Just to make sure. Okay, this is the beast, dragon, beast, and false prophet, right? The threefold union. And the great city was divided into 3 parts. And the cities that of nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God. So the great city of Babylon is what? Dragon, beast, and the false prophet. That's the definition from Revelation 16. Dragon, beast, and the false prophet. All right. Okay. Yeah. Wow, we're going at a good pace here. Yeah. Oh, we gotta find out where the three unions are. All right, we know the three unions happen at the Sunday law. This is Sunday law. Okay, this is 9/11. This is midnight, and we're living right here, just before midnight. This is midnight, and this is the midnight cry. We should make it a little closer, but for this, I'm making midnight cry right here. This is the Sunday law, national Sunday law in America, and this is the universal Sunday law. And after the universal Sunday law is the 7 plagues, right? We got that? Okay. There's a threefold union right here, right? But there's going to be a threefold union here. If there's a threefold union here and a threefold union here, there's got to be a threefold union here. There's a threefold union right there too. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to identify these threefold unions. All right? Because this threefold union here will go all the way to the 7th plague. But what's going to happen? They're going to kill each other. Remember, it's an Armageddon. Remember the story of Gideon? Gideon fought how many countries that came against Israel at that time? No, it's not the Philistines. Actually, the Amalekites, the Midianites, and the children of the East. Do you actually realize that the children of the East? And where did Gideon triumph over that threefold union? At the Valley of Megiddo. What's the Valley of Megiddo? Armageddon. So the story of Gideon is actually the story of what's going to happen at Armageddon. And you realize that the children of the East are there. Islam is all the way in, even at the end, Islam is there. And what happened how did Gideon win against them? With only 300, right? How he broke the pitchers and blew the trumpet, right? Right? And how were those threefold union destroyed?
They were confused.
What did they do? Did Gideon have to kill them? No. How did they die? They killed each other, right? They killed each other. So they are gonna kill each other. That's how the beast, hates the whore. But they're gonna kill each other, right? They're gonna kill each other, right? They're gonna go down. Okay, so the threefold union, we're gonna identify. First thing we're gonna identify is what's gonna happen right here. This is the one of the easier one is the threefold union at the Sunday law. Ellen White, we'll go through Ellen White quotes here, all right? Through the 2 great errors. Okay, I'll still have to go back to these 2 great errors. The immortality of the soul and Sunday sacredness. Satan will bring the people under his deceptions. While the former lays the foundation of spiritualism. Okay, spiritualism foundation is what? Immortality of the soul. All right? That's the foundation of spiritualism. The latter creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. The sympathy of Rome is with the Sunday sacredness. The Protestants of the United States will foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to grasp the hand of spiritualism. So the Protestants, this is now apostate Protestantism of United States. will stretch their hands across the gulf to grasp the hand of spiritualism. And they will reach over the abyss to grab the hand of the Roman power. So there's going to be a three-way handshake with the Roman power. And under the influence of this threefold, it's going to be a threefold union. This country will follow in the steps of Roman. All right? When they make a threefold union, what are they going to do? They're going to trample the rights of conscience. So we know, when does this happen? That's Sunday law. They're going to make a decree. So this is the papacy holding the hands of who are these guys? Who's that? Kenneth Copeland?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
What's his name?
What's his name?
Tony
Palmer?
Palmer. There you
He's an Anglican.
Uh-huh.
You know Kenneth Copeland. What is he? Minister of what? Anyway, he's one that evangelical. Yeah, he speaks in tongues, right?
Evangelical.
This is Tony Palmer, who says that the protest is over.
Yeah.
We are now all Catholics. The protest is now over. And this guy his name is James Robison, the head of the Life Outreach International Ecumenical kind of. This is ecumenism. All right? This is the Protestants of the United States grasping the hands of Roman power. All right? This happened, June 24, 2014.
You didn't show the picture of the Adventist representative there.
No, there's no Adventist. I have a picture. I didn't put it there, but they weren't shaking hands. I looked for a picture of them shaking hands, so I got it. Here you go. They're shaking hands. Okay. What about this? The United Nations. This guy his name is. This is Ban Ki-moon.
Yeah, that's the
And he is shaking hands with the World Evangelical Alliance leader by the name of Bishop Ephraim Tendero. He's got to be Filipino.
He's a Filipino.
Yeah. He's the head of the World Evangelical Alliance. So Protestants are going to join with the United Nations. This was in, March 2015. All right?
Having all the alliances.
What about this one?
There you are.
Ban Ki-moon shaking hands with? Right.
That's Korean.
Yeah. Ban Ki-moon shaking hands with the papacy, May 2016. So has the threefold union started? And they're ready to, what is their real purpose of making this threefold union?
One world order.
To trample the rights of consciences, to set up the Sunday law. The threefold union has already started.
Yeah.
But then they're going to accomplish their goal at the Sunday law. Right? So we see that threefold union. Okay, remember, this is at the Sunday law. We're going to see dragon, beast, and the false prophet. Now we're going to see what happens at midnight. Oh, no, this is what? This is spiritualism, the religion of United Nations. How do you find spiritualism? Give me the definition of spiritualism, if you can. Immortality of the soul, right. God is in the sinner, yeah, that's right. No, but who was the first one that deceived humans with
Satan? You will not die.
you will not. God said, you shall surely die. But what did Satan do? He added one word, which is not. You shall not surely die. So spiritualism is actually saying when a teaching is directly opposite of the Word of God. That's spiritualism, right? When you put that teaching above the Word of God, because now you are actually saying, what is the version of it nowadays? You don't have to be perfect, because you can continue to sin even during the time of the 7 plagues. You're not going to die, even if you have sin, because when Jesus comes, Jesus is going to suddenly, miraculously change you into perfection at His coming. What is that? That's spiritualism, right? You are not surely going to die during the 7 plagues. So you can still hold on to sin. You don't have to be perfect, because Jesus is going to suddenly turn you into perfection with a twinkling of an eye. You're going to suddenly be transformed into perfection when He comes. And what is that? That's spiritualism. All right. Wow. So this is the immortality of the soul. Is there the religion of United Nations, and apostate Protestantism joining with the papacy. So that's our symbols, right? Okay. So apostate Protestantism. How was apostate Protestantism the false prophet? How is it the false prophet? Well, we know America used to speak like a lamb, now speak like a dragon, but we don't know what it means. Okay? Protestantism under Martin Luther, during the Reformation, protested against the papacy, and was the church of Zwingli, Jerome, Huss, and Martin Luther, was it God's church? Yes, it was God's church. But what did they do? What did they not do? They stopped protesting, and they became apostate Protestantism, right? So they changed. But does Rome ever change? No. Rome never changes. It's Protestantism that changes, becomes the false prophet. Okay. All right. Now let's go to this one. This is a little bit long. Review and Herald, January 23. The same masterful spirit that plotted against the faithful in ages past is still seeking to rid the earth of those who fear God and obey His law. Satan will excite indignations against the humble minority. A humble minority who conscientiously refuse to accept popular customs and traditions. Men of position and reputation will join with lawless and the vile to take counsel against the people of God. Wealth, genius, and education will combine to cover them with contempt. Persecuting rulers, ministers, and church members will conspire against them. Okay, how? All right, I'm going to jump through here. All right. By false representations and angry appeals, they will stir up the passions of the people. Not having thus set the scriptures to bring against the advocates of the Bible Sabbath, they will resort to oppressive enactments to supply the lack. To secure popularity and patronage, legislators will yield to the demand of Sunday laws. So, who is it that's demanding the Sunday law? Is it the government? It's the people. It's the church that actually, apostate Protestantism is the one that wants the Sunday law. All right? This is the same story as the story of Esther and Mordecai. Now we have a big, long study. It's like probably eight or nine videos on Esther, right? You gotta watch that. That's tough. The book of Esther is really tough as far as prophecies. But I'm just going to go to this. The decrees, what we get out of Esther is the decrees, right? Who was the first one that decided he wants to have Mordecai killed, and he wants to make a decree and hang the Jews? Haman, right? Who was it that gave him the idea, oh, you should hang Haman on a 50-foot gallows. Who was it that gave him the idea?
The wife, the woman.
The wife, the woman. The
Like Jezebel.
woman gave the idea. The woman is the church that gave the idea to Haman. Haman is America. And he made that declaration. We see it's at the midnight cry. But what happens to Haman at the Sunday law? He got hung himself at the Sunday law, right? Okay, so what did Esther do? Esther says, well, you know what? The Medo-Persian laws cannot be reversed, so I have to make a counter decree. And he said, I'm going to make a counter decree, and that's at the Sunday law. That you Jews can defend yourself, right? When she gave that counter decree, many non-Jews become converted. Who's the non-Jews that become converted at the Sunday law that escaped the hand? Edom, Moab, and Ammon, right? The Nethinims, right? All right, and then the decree was repeated again by Esther, right? At the Universal Sunday Law, all right? Yeah. When the decree was repeated again, what happened? Yeah. Who was hung at the gallows now when the decrees were repeated? Yeah. All right. We're just going over the decrees, right? The first decree is to hang the Jews. The second decree is you can defend yourself. The third decree is to hang the sons of Haman. And how many sons does Haman have? How many sons? 10 sons. The United Nations will eventually, if the 10 sons, will be hung. All right? Right? So this is talking about the Universal Sunday Law. The United Nations will give itself to the papacy. Right? Because Haman gave himself to the papacy, basically. The United States gave its power to the papacy. And the 10 sons of Haman, representing the United Nations, they will give their power to the papacy. Right? Okay. So we will see that at midnight cry, the church will ask, the apostate Protestant church will ask for the Sunday laws. Okay? They will ask for Sunday laws. Okay. And remember, this is like the time of Esther and Mordecai. Now, this is a hard saying to read. This is tough. SPM means Spalding and McGann. Okay, Spalding and McGann. You better highlight this in your own EGW writings because you're going to need this. This explains what happens at midnight cry. I saw that the two-horned beast had a dragon's mouth. Right, the two-horned beast. Who's the two-horned beast that has a dragon's mouth now that used to speak like a lamb? Is America. And that his power was in his head. Okay. Now the power, somebody's controlling him now. And who's that? It's the papacy now. Right? But his power, now he's going to use the power that's in his head is that two horns. He's going to use his two horns now. Right? The two horns. His military power and his economic power. Right? Okay. And the decree will go out of his mouth. And he's going to make the decree come out of his mouth. But who compelled him? It's the Protestants who's asked him for the decree to come. Then I saw the mother of harlots. Who's the mother of harlots? The papacy. Okay, you know, we don't have to be shy about that. You know, it's the papacy. That the mother was not like the daughters, but separate and distinct from them. The mother has had her day and is in the past, and her daughters, the Protestant sex. So Ellen White and the Millerites call the Protestants the daughters of Babylon. Right? And so when they called to come out of Babylon, who were they talking about? You got to come out of the Protestant churches, right? You got to come out of the daughters of Babylon, right? That's who they were referring to. Were next to come to the stage and act out the same mind that the mother had when she persecuted the saints. I saw that as the mother had been declining in power, the daughters had been growing. And soon they will exercise the power once exercised by the mother. Oh, the daughters are now going to persecute, right? It's apostate Protestantism, which is the religion of America, is going to persecute now, right? Because America is now, it's going to be the one that gives the decree. When America speaks like a dragon, it means America is going to speak a decree. That's right. This is already the image of the beast, right? This is why we know this is at the midnight cry, right? Yeah. The image of the beast is being set up at midnight cry. Now you got to see, who is this? The nominal church and nominal Adventist. Oh my! So who's the Protestants? The Protestant sects? This is the nominal church. The apostate Protestants and nominal Adventists, like Judas. Oh boy. So what did they become? Who's Judas? Right? He's the one that betrayed Jesus. Who's he in relationship to the three, when comparing to that three? He's the false prophet. So who's the false prophet now? Here at Midnight Cry. The Protestants and who? Oh boy. Would betray us to the Catholics, right? To obtain their influence to come against the truth. The saints then will be an obscure people. All right. So the saints will be obscure people. Now is the nominal church that we have actually come out of, is that an obscure church that is not known to the Catholic Church? The 19 million of this world, is that an obscure church?
Compromise.
That's this church. But what they are going to want to betray this obscure people. Little known to the Catholics. But the churches and nominal Adventists who know of our faith, do they know where we're having our home church? Who know our faith and customs, as they hated us on the account of Sabbath. Oh no, they've now not keeping Sabbath. The nominal Adventists here are no longer keeping Sabbath at the midnight cry. Oh boy. Will betray the saints who are the obscure people and report them to the Catholics as those who disregard the institutions of the people. That is, they keep the Sabbath and disregard Sunday. They're going to start making Sunday laws at the midnight cry, at the urge of Protestants and nominal Adventists. Wow. Pretty amazing. Then the Catholics bid the Protestants to go forward and issue a decree through the government, right? Through the government. This is Zeresh telling Haman, go build the gallows, right? That all who will not observe the first day of the week instead of the seventh day shall be slain. And the Catholics, whose numbers are large, will stand by the Protestants. The Catholics will give their power to the image of the beast, right? So now the Protestants have become the image of the beast. You get this? The image of papacy. Because now the Protestants are going to be the ones who's going to be persecuting, just like the papacy. Right? Okay. And the Protestants will work as their mother, work before them to destroy the saints. But their decree being decree bring or bear fruit, the saints will be delivered by the voice of God. Oh, amen. Wow, it was pretty scary until we get to hear. Woo, what a relief. Right?
That's right.
Oh boy. Wow. So, the Protestants and the nominal Adventists become an image of the beast. And they compel to government to make a Sunday law to make an image to the beast. Right? You get the difference? Right? Because the Protestants and the Adventists have become an image of the beast. Now they want to make a Sunday law where you make an image to the beast. The image to the beast is making a church and state union where who is in control? The church is in control. The church is in control. The church has to be in control. You see that pink-headed monster, the beast. Does the church stand by the beast?
Sitting on,
Is riding on the beast, right? That's the image to the beast, right? When you have an image to the beast, that's the relationship, right? Relationship. Okay. So, this is at midnight cry. Who's the false prophet? Is nominal Adventists and nominal Protestants. Why are they nominal? Because they're no longer protesting, right? Okay, this is the false prophet. Remember, Ellen White said they're like Judas. They're going to betray the small group, the obscure group, right? To who? Well, to the Catholics, who asked the United States to make a decree, to make a Sunday law. So at midnight cry, there's going to be Sunday law starting, right? Wow. Okay. So what happens? The Lord has a controversy with his professed people. Who's God's professed people in these last days? Adventists. In this controversy, men in the responsible positions will take a course directly opposite that pursued by Nehemiah. They will not only ignore and despise the Sabbath themselves. See, they're no longer keeping the Sabbath, right? Remember? They're going to persecute these obscure people because of the Sabbath. They're no longer keeping this. What are they doing now? They will try to keep it from others by burying it under the rubbish of custom and tradition. In churches and in large gatherings, in the open air. What is the large gatherings in open airs? In camp meetings. Ministers will urge upon the people the necessity of keeping the first day of the week. We can see this. This is happening at midnight cry, right? It all fits now. We now know when this is being. Ellen White was prophesying this. This is going to happen one day. We now know when this happens. It's at midnight cry. It's before the Sunday law. How do we know it's before Sunday law? Look at this. There are calamities on sea and land, and these calamities will increase, one disaster following close upon another. And the little band, isn't the little band the obscure ones? The little band of conscientious Sabbath keepers will be pointed out, right? So this happens before the Sunday law, right? They're being pointed out as the ones who are bringing the wrath of God upon the world by their disregard of Sunday. Because of that, we need a Sunday law. This happens before the Sunday law. And that's midnight cry. You read this and you understand it's before Sunday law. Okay? Scary stuff. Scary stuff. But remember, God will deliver his people, right? God will deliver his people. Okay, now we get to midnight. Midnight is not that difficult. We've gone to this several times. We go to midnight. Who was arrested at midnight? Jesus. Who betrayed Jesus? Judas. So Judas is the false prophet, right? He used to be, well, he seemed to be a good disciple, then he became a bad disciple, right? He's the false prophet, right? So, who did Judas take Jesus to? Annas and Caiaphas. Annas and Caiaphas is now, wait a minute, I got this backwards. All right, because now it should be the beast here. I'm sorry, I got this backwards. Okay, Annas. Judas takes Jesus to Annas and Caiaphas. Annas and Caiaphas represents what? The apostate church, right? It should be the beast, actually. I'm going to have to reverse this, right? But this is take them to the apostate church, right? And then from there, takes them to the government. The government is the dragon power, right? Is the world, is the dragon power, right? So how did the church become a beast? I'm sorry, I got this backwards, right? I just remember, let's just say the beast is right here. How did the church, I thought the church was like, it's the papacy that's the beast. How did the church now behave like the beast? How is now the church behaving like the Catholic Church? Do you remember this vision of Ellen White? In First Testimonies 577.2. That night I dreamed that I was in Battle Creek, looking out from the side of the glass door and saw a company marching up to the house, 2 by 2. They looked stern and determined. I knew them well. Why? Because she's in Battle Creek. And who lives in Battle Creek? The leaders of the church. I know them. They're the leaders of the church. And it turned to open the parlor door to receive them, but thought I would look again. The scene was changed. The company now presented the appearance of a Catholic procession. So now the leaders of Battle Creek have become a Catholic procession. This is when Annas and Caiaphas takes on the role of the beast, right? One bore in his hand a cross, another a reed. And as they approached, one carrying a reed made a circle around the house, saying 3 times, wow, this house is proscribed. The goods must be confiscated. They have spoken against our holy order. Wow. So this happens at the midnight, right? Midnight there's a threefold union also at midnight. Okay, how are we doing with time? Okay. All right, we'll make a summary right here. Okay, we'll make a summary right here. Okay, so Daniel 11 verse 16. But he that cometh against him shall do according to his own will, and none shall stand. Okay, none shall stand. All right, that's at Sunday law. Pompey. Nobody can stand against Pompey. Right? Nobody can stand against the papacy. The papacy will come in and stand in America, right there at Sunday law. Right? But his hand will be consumed. He will eventually the papacy will fall somewhere here, right? Because this is Sunday law. This is the universal Sunday law. Right? And the 7 plagues happens right here. So eventually they will fall here. He will be consumed here. Okay, verse 17. He also will set his face to enter the strength of his whole kingdom. Right? Now he's going to conquer the United Nations. And the upright ones with him. All right? And the upright ones with him. And some will actually betray and join with the papacy. Oh, we know who. Right? What used to be the upright ones. And he shall give him the daughter of women. and corrupting her, right? So apostate Protestantism is being corrupted. So okay, I'm sorry, I did that verse 17, but we know that there's 3 unions, right? Threefold unions. Midnight cry, Sunday law, and this one continues all the way until here, right? Okay, but here is verse 17. He's going to corrupt the daughter of women. He's going to corrupt the apostate church, right? Add the Sunday law here. So verse 17 and verse 18 comes in right at this time period. And after that, he will turn his face into the isles and take many. Now he's going to control the United Nations, right? But they go up against him, and he wants to be the ruler of them all. He wants to be the emperor. But then they're going to kill him. They don't like it. They want to kill him. But he returns to his land where he becomes their ruler. So he becomes the head of this threefold union. So the papacy is going to be the head of the threefold union, right? And it's with America and United Nations. Because America will become the head of the United Nations, right? Okay. And then verse 19, and then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall and not be found. That's when he goes down, right? So that's up to verse 19. Okay, we'll go a few more slides, and then we'll finish, okay? Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom. Wow, we know who's the raiser of taxes. But within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. So Augustus Caesar succeeded his uncle, Julius, right? This is Augustus, he's Octavian, by whom he had adopted his successor. So he had actually a triumvirate. He publicly announced his adoption by his uncle and took his name, to which he added that of Octavianus. Combining with Mark Antony and Lepidus to avenge the death of Caesar, they formed what they called a triumvirate. So that's the triumvirate. Having subsequently firmly established himself in the empire, the Senate conferred upon him the title of Augustus. So he became the emperor now. And the other members of the triumvirate now being dead, he became supreme ruler. So he became the supreme ruler because all these will eventually die, right? Because first Lepidus and then Mark Antony. Obviously we know Mark Antony made a alliance with Cleopatra, right? First thing he did was when he became emperor, he said, I'm going to go after Mark Antony. And then he started planning the Battle of Actium war, and he's going to go against Mark Antony and Cleopatra. He emphatically is a raiser of taxes, because that's in Luke 2 verse 1, Caesar Augustus is the one that raised the taxes such that Mary and Joseph can go to Bethlehem, right? And then be counted for tax purposes, right? Yeah, he collected a lot of money. It was the glory of the kingdom. There's a lot of money. And in that time also, he picked the king of the Jews. And who did he pick? Herod the Great. So Rome picked the king of the Jews.
Which is descendant of...
No, this is Herod the Great. He's the father. Yeah, he's the Idumean. Herod the Great, the Idumean. He's an Edomite, right? He's an Edomite. Okay, he's not a Jew.
He's not a Jew.
Yeah, he's actually an Edomite. Okay. And here, we know this is Obama.
Yeah.
Because Obama is a raiser of taxes, right? How did he tax you if you don't have Obamacare? He taxes you every which way. Either you have insurance or you don't have insurance, you're going to have to pay tax. Approved in, what is that, 2010?
Yeah, 2010.
And it was the glory of his kingdom. This was the glory of the liberal government, right? Yeah. What else was passed during his you remember something obvious that was passed that kind of summarizes the liberal attitude of his glory of his kingdom? Obergefell versus Hodges, June 26, 2015, passed the Supreme Court.
That's rainbow.
Right? Same-sex marriage, right? In what? 2015, right? It was 5-4 Supreme Court ruling. 5-4. Yeah. The liberal judges, even though they may be Catholic, the real liberal ones voted for this. Okay, 5-4. And became a law of the land now. What else? What liberal things can you remember really becoming prominent? 17 out of 29 states during his 8 years of rulership adopted the marijuana, legalized marijuana. It became very liberal. This country has become a very liberal country. That's the law. That's the glory of his kingdom there, right? But within a few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Oh, well, somebody took over. Okay, all right. Who took over? And in his state shall stand up a vile person. Who's this vile person? Is Tiberius. Seneca. Now this is Daniel in Revelation. Seneca remarks of Tiberius that he was never intoxicated but once in his life. For he continued in a state of perpetual intoxication from the time he gave himself to drinking to the last moment of his life.
He never stopped drinking.
Well, you know what? This president is going to be perpetually drunk with the wine of Babylon.
That's right.
Tyranny, hypocrisy, debauchery, and uninterrupted intoxication. If these traits and practices show a man to be vile, Tiberius accepted that character in disgusting perfection. Oh my. Wow. They didn't mince their words, did they? Okay, what does vile mean? Vile is baza, which means despised and disdained and contemptible. Is the president right now a despised and disdained and contemptible president right now? Oh my. Now he could be a simple guy, but he's certainly despised. Right? Yeah. Wow. And he shall come in peaceably. This is very important. He shall come in peaceably, not specifically because our presidents had never come in forcefully, but peaceably is going to be prophetic, because in verse 24 there's another power that comes in peaceably. So if we see that power and we say that he comes in peaceably, we know it's going to be this. It's talking about this president. So coming in peaceably is going to be important for next week, okay, when we get to that part. Okay, all right. And with the arms of a flood shall they be overflown from before him, and shall be broken, yea, also the prince of the covenant. Oh, and the arms of the flood. Okay, now we're going to have to find out. We're going to have the Bible tell us what is the arms of the flood that's going to overflow before him. This is talking about our president. And shall be broken. It's going to even break God's people, right? Because the prisoner of the covenant is going to even break Jesus. Remember, this is Tiberius, right? Because Tiberius, with his army, he conquered a lot of places. And with that army, he also crucified Jesus. Right? So, what does breaking mean? And thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, and shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Who is this breakers of the people? Yeah, it's verse 16. It's Rome. It's Rome. The breakers of his people, right? It shall be broken. He's going to break. Yea, this is what? Daniel 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the Prince of Hosts. Who's the Prince of Hosts? Jesus. Right? And with him the daily was taken away. Well, was this what is actually elevated? And his place of sanctuary was cast down. So paganism was actually elevated. Rome. Okay, jump to verse 25. And through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. And by peace, with treaties, he's gonna, and shall stand up against the prince of princes. Oh boy, this has got a Sunday law. He's gonna go all the way to the Sunday law. This president, if we read this right, is gonna go all the way to the Sunday law.
Wow. Do we have time?
But he shall be broken without hand. That's the issue. That's the issue. But he shall be broken without hand. Know therefore and understand that from the beginning forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem, this is Daniel 9:25. This is talking about the 70 weeks. To build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, right? This is the Prince, right? The Prince going to be broken. Wow, this is Sunday law. We're talking about Sunday law. This king is going to go all the way to the Sunday law. It shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks the streets shall be built, and the wall even the troublous times. And after 62 weeks, after 62 weeks, shall the Messiah be cut off, right? Messiah cut off at Sunday law. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come up shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. The city and the sanctuary going to be overflown with a flood, with the army. The army is going to come in like a flood and going to come over. This is talking about 70 AD. But in our time, the flood is going to come in, right? And encompass the walls. And it's going to stand where it ought not to be. What is that? The abomination of desolation. The arms of Rome is going to come. And it's right. Yeah. So now with the flood is going to be the army. But the armies of Rome that comes in is the abomination of desolation. And they're going to ruin the temple. But they're also going to, they're the ones that actually kills the Messiah. Right? So we're talking about the Sunday law here. Okay. We'll end here, okay? This is our summary. So, then he shall stand up in his estate, a raiser of taxes. Well, we know that's Obama right there. And the glory of his kingdom. America became very liberal here. But now this guy is going to try to turn that around. But he's going to be a vile person. He's going to be despised, right? And they shall not give him the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably. And obtain the kingdom by flatteries. And when the arms of the flood, now it's going to go all the way here to Sunday law. And the arm of the flood, shall they be overflown before him. It's going to be verse 6, all right. This is verse 21. This is going to be verse 22. Verse 22 is all the way here, right? So, if we're applying this method of studying prophecy, this president is going to be the one that take us all the way through midnight, take us through all the way through midnight cry, and all the way to the Sunday law. Wow, that's bold. That's bold. To say that is bold. But if you can come boldly to, right? Like your brother said, you study with this, and you know, you can make a bold prediction.
And
but that's
make a bold decision.
That's right. You may have to make a bold decision. What are you going to do? That's the most important. If that is the prediction, what are you going to do? Right? Because we're living in the last time, that time of the last president. All right. When our nation shall so abjure the principle of its government and to enact a Sunday law, Protestantism will in this act join hands with Popery, and it will be nothing else than giving life to the tyranny which has long been eagerly watching its opportunity to spring again into active despotism. This guy is gonna be an active despot, and he is going to become the ruler of the United Nations. Boy, that's Testimonies Volume 5, 711.4, right? Active despotism. You go to the CD-ROM and just type active despotism. There's only one. He's gonna rule with active despotism. All right? Wow, that's a mouthful. That's pretty incredible, right? If we're going to be able to see this and understand, we have to know we have to make a bold decision. What are we going to do, right?
It's not going to be long.
It's not going to be long.
Short generation.
Mm-hmm.
Short time. It's the
Right?
last generation.
The last generation started even at 9/11, but we're now at the last president. Wow. And that is a more sure word of prophecy. All right.